This is Mission Control Houston. Again, joining us by telephone today. We have a special guest interview with Jud Ready, who is from the Georgia Institute of Technology, and he's just gotten the happy news that his experiment that is going to be looking at how to improve the manufacture of photovoltaic cells on the International Space Station is actually going to fly to the space station. Welcome, Dr. Ready.
Thank you, Kelly. It is very exciting. It's a boyhood dream come true to fly in space, even if I'm not actually doing it. Something that we handle is going to do it. So it's very exciting.
Well, welcome to Mission Control. Tell us a little bit more about your experiment.
Well, what our experiment does is use a light trapping morphology on the solar cell. It's a three-dimensional solar cell, so that it captures light from multiple angles, which is particularly relevant on the space station because it goes around the Earth so many times. You've got mechanical tracking arrays on it to keep the solar flux powering the channels.
And we're looking at some pictures that you sent us. These look like tiny cubes.
Yes, we've got, they're actually, if you zoom right in, the carbon nanotubes are very vine-like, and so we try to coat those with our photoabsorber materials. We've done it in the past using cadmium telluride as the photon-absorbing material. This proposal is using a new photochemistry known as CZTS, copper zinc tin sulfide.
Okay. And so you mentioned that they're three-dimensional. I'm guessing that the cells we're using in most applications here on the ground and in space right now are two-dimensional type cells.
That's correct. They're planar. Before we developed this technology back in the early 2000s, there was no way to texture what are known as thin film photovoltaic cells. They could texture silicon cells by etching little pyramids into the silicon structure itself, and that would provide a light trapping. Basically, what it does is it allows the photon of light to hit the solar cell, and if it does not get absorbed, it'll reflect off and hit the solar cell again inside this pyramidal pit. Well, we do the same thing, but we create vertical structures that we then coat with our photoabsorbers, such as CAD-TEL, SIGs, CZTS, all the various different thin film absorbers.
Okay. And you mentioned that this has potential applications in space because naturally you've got a more three-dimensional capability to collect the sunlight in space as the space station orbits the Earth and the solar rays can track the sun. What about on Earth? Is this technology of potential use for us here on the ground?
Certainly. It'd be very useful on the ground. The key benefit from the CZTS absorber is its low cost. The 3D morphology allows us to capture light without having tracking arrays. Usually we don't have tracking arrays on a terrestrial emplacement of a solar cell. Usually you just sort of optimize that on the roof at a given angle that's as close as perfect as you can get, which is not very close at all, for your latitude and where you are on the face of the Earth. With the 3D solar cell, with the planar solar cell, they perform best at high noon, where the incident flux is as perpendicular to the cell as possible. With ours, actually, we want to be off angle slightly to allow for more photon impingements within the various different towers that were showed earlier with the various slides.
Okay. Would this allow you to collect more electricity with a smaller set of cells?
Yes, it's really about the integrated energy from sunrise to sunset that we're able to capture, because ours will go up, whereas a planar cell will always go down, so that across the entire span of the sun rising to sun setting, we absorb more photons due to the light trapping.
Okay.
We're also able to extract them better because our thin film absorber is significantly thinner because we're assured of the absorption. So the carrier path length, getting the electrons out of the structure to create useful electricity, is much shorter, so there's a higher probability that they'll come out.
All right. And have you heard any indications yet on when your experiment's going to fly?
It's a 12-month program, so it'll start in terms of making these things. So that'll start, my guess, probably May 1st, middle of April perhaps, if we're lucky. And then once we deliver it after 12 months, there'll be the integration that CASIS will perform. I believe it's going up on a Dragon vehicle that you've been showing. It's a beautiful vehicle, so I look forward to riding on that. And I have no idea how long it'll take from when I get it in CASIS hands to go to launch, but I guarantee you I'll be at the launch site watching it and cheering for it.
Okay. You mentioned that this was kind of a dream come true. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up, and how did you get into space research?
Um, I am born in North Carolina, Winston-Salem, but grew up in Chapel Hill. So go Tar Heels. Um, we've got space has always been a boyhood dream. I've applied for the astronaut program since '99, but it was beginning to look like I'm probably not going to be able to fly in space myself. So if I can at least have some of my research up there, that's a pretty good second prize. But maybe by getting some experience here integrating this payload, that maybe it'll up my chances a little bit farther in the selection process. I got pretty far a couple selections ago, got to the reference stage, but never an interview.
All right. Well, and so it's interesting that a lot of people don't know about CASIS, and so we're talking about this because this is one way, one avenue for researchers, whether they're from an academic institution or for a commercial company, or even individuals in some cases, to get research on the International Space Station. It is a U.S. official national laboratory, and so can you tell us a little bit about how working with CASIS has been?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's just like working going to be just like if I went to Oak Ridge National Lab to do my research up there. Battelle runs that for the U.S. government. CASIS does the exact same thing for the International Space Station, essentially. So it's been fun. I'm just learning to meet all the people down there. So I plan actually, I'm going to be there in 2 weeks for spring break. Just happen to be down there with my daughter, so maybe we'll zip over to the Cape to see them and see the place.
All right. Well, Jud Ready, thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations on your experiment being selected for tests on the International Space Station. We'll look forward to hearing the results of your research.
Thank you very much, Kelly. I appreciate it.
All right, that was Jud Ready, who is working with an experiment that's been selected now by the Center for the Advancement of Science and Space to fly on the International Space Station in a year or so. That's going to look at how to make better and three-dimensional solar cells that can generate electricity from sunlight.